This is Nostalgic Black Culture. I'm the voice Khasan. On this channel, I talk about topics and issues that are related to our culture that I naturally have an opinion on. If you find this content entertaining or educational, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button below. And most importantly, I want to hear from you in the comment section. Let's get into the video. This is my review on Lil Baby, Untrapped. You can find it on Amazon. Going into this documentary, I really didn't know a whole lot about Lil Baby. I have a few verses that I know him from and a song or two, but I really don't know his music or really didn't follow his music that much. Going into this documentary, I was just going in thinking, let me watch this and see what I find out. Let me see what I can learn from this documentary. Some of the key moments or key topics that this documentary does touch on, it talks about Lil Baby's upbringing, growing up in a neighborhood in Atlanta that was heavily gentrified during the mid 90s. The Olympics was held in Atlanta back in 1996. I guess during that time, the Olympics pretty much kind of took over that whole area and pushed all the locals out, raised the rents, and start doing a lot of, I guess if you know anything about the Olympics, they'll kind of rebuild an area just to make it more polished and more attractive for visitors. So Lil Baby and his mom actually had to move out of this neighborhood. They were pretty much pushed out, and this is kind of what pushed Lil Baby into the trajectory that he went down of trapping. He was like, I think it was about 7 or 8. This is like a key moment for Lil Baby in his life. He saw the effects of being pushed out of a neighborhood. People were losing their homes. People were getting put out on the streets during that time. And another key thing that they mentioned, that Atlanta, I guess if you know anything about Atlanta, during that time they had a police squad called the Red Dogs that would pretty much just come through the neighborhoods harassing black folks. It was a special task force that they put on the streets to kind of go after drug dealers and crime, but obviously this task force was like overly aggressive, and Lil Baby witnessed this during that time, and so that was a key moment for Lil Baby while he was growing up. Another key moment that they touched on that I also like is they showed the behind the scenes of how Lil Baby prepared for his Grammy appearance during 2020. I didn't know, but I just learned this from the documentary, that he was the highest selling artist in all genres during 2020, during the pandemic. And I thought it was crazy that he didn't receive a Grammy nomination at all that year. They show his reaction to finding out that he didn't receive any Grammy nominations. I thought he handled that pretty well. They have like a sit down where they kind of break the news to Lil Baby, and he's just basically, he takes it like, hey, this is my opportunity. This is a chance where I can kind of show the Grammys and everybody on the committee why y'all should have nominated me. So he prepares for this performance like crazy. You should probably go back and rewatch the performance. It was a pretty good performance. That's probably one of the performances that I remember from that year. And that was a huge song that year, especially with everything that was going on with George Floyd and the protests. That was a huge song that year. So I respect his grind. I respect, how he hustled, how he prepared himself for that specific situation. But throughout the documentary, they touch on how he didn't even want to become a rapper. He was like heavily in the streets. Atlanta respected him. He was like, I don't know, the LeBron James of trapping. I mean, they showed him like at one point gambling with his crew, and like they just had stacks of money just like everywhere. But this is like when he's, famous already for rapping, but they show him handling money like hundreds of thousands just before he even became a rapper. These kind of stories you usually hear, like most rappers, they get into the dope game, they trap before they even become rappers just as a way of survival, and then they get into rapping and then they see a whole new light. No, it was the other way around. He was already living that life before he even became a rapper. So you see appearances from Young Thug, Gunna, Drake. Young Thug talks about how he had to pay him to stop trapping so that he could focus on rapping, which I thought was crazy. And Lil Baby was like, nah, this is rapping. Like, that's stupid. Like, I'm giving up. I'm losing out on so much money from just not trapping right now. But he does end up going to jail at one point, and then when he comes out of jail or when he's released, he takes a new perspective on life and just kind of focuses in on rapping, and he really takes this thing serious. And you get to see his trajectory from just like zero to being like a star and where he is today. But one thing I wish they would have touched on is how he became. I consider him like he's one of the best lyricists of today out of this new generation. I like to see how he, grew from where he was to where he is now. I wish they would have touched on the actual musical side of things, but overall, this is a great documentary to watch. I like to see where he goes from here. I got a newfound respect for Lil Baby as an artist, a rapper. I was listening to more of his music over the weekend, and you know, I think this is a must see documentary. So if you haven't watched it, I'd say go ahead, sit down, watch it, and you might learn something. Thanks for tuning in. Again, this is Nostalgic Black Culture. I'll be doing more reviews on upcoming documentaries and TV shows that I'm currently watching. Hit me in the comments below if you want to hear more reviews or my take on different documentaries or TV shows that's currently out. So stay tuned, and I'll see you on the next video.